3.
Welcome to all our comrades around the world to the Socialist Sunday stream.
And welcome everybody to the Socialist Sunday stream. We are here tonight with Paul Morrin as usual.
Welcome.
And
Welcome.
with Christopher Szabo, who I'm super
The
excited
mighty.
to have with us. Yes.
Hello, everyone.
About
meet
time.
Hello.
Long overdue.
How is everyone?
Good.
How is everyone?
How is everybody in the
All
chat?
good.
We got Lorcan
See how the guys
Nagel,
in the
Damon
chat are doing.
Garcia. We got
Harry Larkin.
Lorcan Nagel, Katya Sky, Gestin, and some random geek who just joined us.
I actually can't see the chat at all because I don't have the window open, but I'm glad to be present here today.
It's scary when you open the window.
Yeah.
It's like the music blasts out and it doubles. So like the first time you hear it, you're like listening to two conversations. You're listening to yourself like about a minute behind. It's like what the hell? What's going on in my mind? Am I tripping?
Snapland Cats is in the house and Lex is in the house.
Hey gang.
Good people. We got a lot of good people with us tonight. So glad to find you all. So we're talking today about what do you wanna start off with?
Well,
Christopher?
on my mind, I want to determine whether or not I'm an anarchist or I'm a Marxist, Leninist or not, because fundamentally speaking, I have anarchist views. Like basically speaking, I reject hierarchy, but a lot of times people have been calling me out and saying that I have aspects and talking points of Marxist Leninism, and I've been looking over my videos lately. And I've been noticing that I have a consistent talking pattern for leftists, Javi and Paul Morrin here to talk about that with. So, maybe I'm just a well balanced leftist. Who knows?
I would
Balanced
say so,
leftist.
Actually. Yeah, I would say so actually. From my point of view, it's like labels, fuck labels.
Possibly, yeah. That's a good point.
I tend to agree with that, yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
rule of thumb, what I always say is why not both?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can we practice Marxist Leninist structures that destroy the capitalist state in an orderly, an organized and efficient fashion, and also leave room for anarchist projects to develop and direct, shine the beacon to the next level, which would coincide to what utopian communism was, kind of like a stateless, classless society. It's like we're talking about the same shit with different words. But I don't know. That's my
Yeah. It's I think it's a really important view that I've said this to a few people before. It's like there's 3 steps. First step, we all agree we want to go to the left. Second step, it's like, okay, how do we get there? Third step's communism. We're all in agreement with step 1 and step 3, but on step 2, we're not 100% sure on what the best method is to get there. Should we take a state socialist route? Should we take a libertarian kind of socialist route? We don't really know how to get there, and we get tripped up on it. But this is a tendency within the left, and I do think that there is kind of sometimes I do think that we can get a little bit caught up in maybe, let's say, a lifestylist kind of attitude, which I think is given to us by capitalism, where we really need to define ourselves. I'm this guy, I'm this person, I'm that, I'm, So I think a lot of this anxiety with trying to identify ourselves is kind of part of capitalism. culture and capitalist hegemony manifesting itself within these leftist movements. And it doesn't really matter. Like when you say you're an anarchist to other anarchists, are like, okay, well, what kind of anarchist are you? Are you a social anarchist? Are you an egoist? You know, like, what are you? Are you a syndicalist? What are you? You say you're a Marxist-Leninist. Okay, so wait, are you a Marxist-Leninist? I mean, are you a Maoist? Are you a Trotskyist? And you know, people get really fucking mad about what label you put on yourself. So sometimes I'm like, I'm happy either calling myself like a socialist or a communist or, you know, whatever. If you want to call me an anarchist, that's fine. But I do you guys get what I mean when I'm saying like I think that sometimes we get a little bit too caught up in these terms, and I'm not 100% sure that those are necessarily conducive to building strong movements. It can be useful in some circumstances, maybe to find people who have, you know, shared interests and things like that, you know. But aside from that, aside from like finding your let's say finding your clan, finding your fam, your group, your whatever, you know, I'm not 100% sure how useful it is to focus too much on these things.
Does it
you know,
maybe
maybe
connect,
I'm wrong.
Does it maybe connect with teenager type of thing, like why I need to belong to a group? And
yeah, maybe,
you know,
I'm the
all
rock
these young
kid.
people, they get like a label and stick to the label. I would say like, you
Yeah.
know, you show me yours and I show you mine, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. But then there's like, for example, like how do we get to a socialist society? Because I mean, like, you know, all anarchists want to achieve a socialist society, right? Where like, you know, a communist or a socialist typically, or I'm sorry, a Marxist-Leninist per se would want to
Sure.
achieve a socialist through a transitionary state. But we're saying an anarchist would want to achieve a socialist society through a direct action, you know, through direct democracy, through liquidized democracy. So, which one is the more viable option? You know, which one is more
Yeah.
realistic?
Yeah.
And you know, most of the time we see these things like
Yeah,
from a
no,
very
I
linear point
agree.
of
Yeah,
view, if
that's
you know what I mean. Very linear, very. We go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and this formula is going to work, yes or yes. Then we don't have like a plan B or a plan C, and then things go crazy. You know what I mean? Like, this may work. Let's try it. That's a good starting point for a leftist project, and say, okay, and if it doesn't work, let's try this other thing. And maybe a combination of this thing and the other thing. There's a lot of problems that I see between anarchist and ML types, anarchist types and ML types, is that there's like a lot of distrust. Like an anarchist, like say, they're not real anarchists. I'm gonna say like a LARPy anarchist is gonna say, but the tankies are gonna nuke us as soon as the revolution is over, and they're gonna put us all in jail and murder us. And the LARPing ML is gonna say the same. Like anarchists don't know shit about how to do things. They're gonna mess the revolution up, and they're gonna kill us in terrorist acts. And it's like, why don't we just work together and have like have like a state that works, but have a state that respects anarchist projects developing within it, like and have like different stages and have work different arms and different options, just in case one of them fails, we hang on to the next one. And we try things out. We try stuff, and you know, the realities are complex.
Yeah.
There's no one formula that fits all the circumstances in all historical points and in all territories. It's not gonna happen.
That's so important. Yeah, it's because it's so different. It's so different in different states and different circumstances, etc., etc. It really depends on what historical moment you're at. Where is the movement? Is it feasible for you and your group to have like an anarchist society, to go directly to practicing something like communism or anarchism, if you prefer to call it that? And is that feasible, or will you need to use the state at that moment. I mean, I think that some people will, you know, say like, oh well, it's never justifiable to use the state, and it's never, you can never do that, and this causes all these problems, and we end up having these problems about circumstances and situations that happened, you know, 100 years ago, 70 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, whatever it might be. We end up fighting ghosts of the past, and I feel that a lot of the time that's what we're doing in these movements. And ultimately, I think that's, we need to be thinking forward, like, where are we right now? How is the situation in California right now? How is the situation in Spain right? How is the situation in Dublin right now? And what can we do right here, right now, to move towards socialism? Can we take more of an anarchist path? Can we take more of a syndicalist path? Or will it need to be more of a heavy-duty state-led path, you know? To be honest, like, I don't know how, and I've talked about this a little bit before, I don't know how you could possibly bring about socialism while part of the EU, the European Union, while it's, you know, trying to like force us to like privatize, you know, our railway system and to privatize more and more things, you know. So we've got these obligations now as part of the EU. So we need to work on dealing with that. I personally, even though I love anarchism, I love the ideas, I don't see how anarchism can work in Dublin, Ireland, at this particular moment in time. Maybe it'll work in different parts of the country, or in different circumstances. But in 2019 in Ireland, I really don't see a path forward for the anarchist, the typical anarchist path anyway. Do you know what I mean? So we need to figure out how can we get there from where we are right now. And I suppose I don't think we can be too dogmatic about these things, you know. It's always about sort of growing and developing. And look, none of us are in, you know, pre-Bolshevik revolution Russia. None of us are in, you know, Cuba, you know, Batista's Cuba, you know. None of us are in. Well, I don't know, Javi, you're literally in Spain, so
I'm a little
so
in
you know,
Spain.
you're. Yeah, you're literally in Spain, but maybe it's a different circumstance to when you had that wonderful Civil War period.
No, this version
utopia.
of Spain sucks in so many ways. I can't even start to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
So what you're saying, it's like you would prefer to have like an anarchist society after like a transitionary state, right? Basically.
Well, it depends on what we call like an anarchist society. I mean, obviously a stateless classless society, devoid, like with reducing all the hierarchies that we possibly can, you know, just no unjustified hierarchies. Yeah, absolutely. For me, that's communism, that's anarchism. Like they're kind of synonymous in the end goal, in the end point. So I'm not really too worried about it. You can call it one or the other. It doesn't really make much of a difference. Although I know people don't like that I say that sometimes, and they get a little bit upset because they automatically think when I say communism, I'm talking Marxism, Leninism, or Stalinism, or something like that. That's not
okay.
It's obvious that we're
that's
talking
not where
about
I'm trying to
communism.
Communism, yeah.
I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth. I was trying to understand what you were trying to say, because you were saying like you wouldn't see anarchism in Ireland like in this point in time, you know, because it wouldn't work in this point in time, you know. So I was trying to understand what you were trying to say.
Yeah. So I want the end goal of anarchism that we all want. We all want to get there, but how we get there, what that, you know, that second step between, you know, step 1 and step 3, that's where I want to be, you know, that anarchist or communist society or whatever. But that second step, I'm not 100% sure what the best step is going to be in terms of getting there, you know?
Yeah, especially because, like, you know, every society, you know, every communist society still has this bourgeois element, you know, like, and we gotta address those bourgeois elements in some way, shape, or fashion, you know. I don't know how we address those bourgeois elements, like, you know, like Machno addressed them by literally killing them. I wouldn't basically, I don't want to go to the extreme, but like Stalin basically literally, like, you know, purged them basically. I don't want to say that, I don't want to endorse that, but basically like you know, I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm talking about like landowners and people who basically exploited the peasants and like basically like kept food from the peasants and like stuff like that. So we gotta address those bourgeois elements, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think we can just follow like the old ways, and that's why I think it behooves us to not just try and
Yeah.
emulate these old ideologies, to try to do something new with our new conditions, and to move forward rather than just going back and trying to go back to that. But obviously there's a lot of stuff we can learn from them. We can learn from the mistakes, we can learn from the successes of the various different experiments with socialism all throughout the 20th century. But definitely no, we're like, nobody's going to be trying to fight to implement the industrial powerhouse 5-year plan model of the. Some people will.
Here we go again, and good health. Okay, people, we had like a little bit of technical difficulties. I hope you're watching us again in good health. Can you hear us? Can you see us?
I think
Can you?
I think
the
we might be
rest of
back.
the
Yeah,
things? It's.
I think we're good.
Yeah, let's ask the chat just in case. You're watching on the other end, right?
Yeah, I can see it here, and it seems to be okay.
Cool. Let's do.
yeah.
Okay, and some random geek
So-
confirms. So we were with Stanley.
We were just about to jump into Stalin. Here we go. Wow, this is.
Oh wait, no, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about how do we address the bourgeois elements
yeah.
of society
The kulaks.
in a communist society.
Yeah.
Or in a
China has some
society.
answers to that. How do you think we should, from like an anarchist perspective, what do you think would be the best ways of addressing that? Because I can just hear I can hear Brett from Rev Left Radio in my head just saying, liquidate the bourgeoisie, and it's like,
Yeah, liquidate the bourgeoisie without liquidating the bourgeois.
Give them to your cat.
Make them work. Make
Well,
Yeah,
that's where I'm stumped, honestly. I don't know because I don't know. That's where I'm stumped.
like a strong state that has like a law that says, okay, we're the only way of making a company ever is making it into a co-op.
Yeah.
Where are the bourgeois? They can't make a company or own assets or extract property from other people. So I don't know. Could be simple as that. You don't need to kill a shit ton of people. Just
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's true. You can make the government into a co-op. That's a good point.
you walking down the street like Hugo Chavez saying expropriate, collectivize, expropriate, collectivize, expropriate. Done and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are scared to talk about that, but I think that if this is the approach that we want to take in the 21st century, I think that we probably do need to look at the 21st century models of socialism. I think we should be looking at Bolivia. I think we should be looking at Venezuela, and of course we all have our criticisms and our critiques, etc., etc. But we probably should be looking at those. Nationalization, using the democratic process that we have there. I know a lot of people are very much against using sort of bourgeois parliamentary politics and the system to get it in there, but that might be one route which might be viable in some circumstances. And I think we should probably look at that. So, Chris, are you, when you're talking about how we deal with the bourgeoisie, are you talking about should we focus on the individual or like the whole group, or should we first do one and then the other? The overall group.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think Javi, as you said, I suppose to disenfranchise them, I suppose, to relieve them of the struggle, those terrible things that make them bourgeois.
We could have like social workers, into reinstating them as living as workers, and just that company's not yours anymore, but you still have a job, and you just need to address your peers as peers. So we need to do a little bit of changes, but helping people with that transition, I mean, it's okay because there's so much. I understand that there's so much violence in this shit system of neoliberalism bullshit that is, there's a thirst there for revenge. We wanna go back at them motherfuckers. They've been shitting on us for so long, but then again, what do we want? What does most people want in the world is to live in peace and thrive. Right?
Yeah, but I think that's like we could say like we want to live in peace and thrive, and but then when one motherfucker comes along and they're like, I just want to conquer and destroy and all of these things. So, um, scary words, scary term to use, re-education. I think that's going to be an important part of every socialist movement. That doesn't need to look like re-education camps. It can look like creating new culture. It can look like creating new culture, which I suppose extols proletarian values. You know, the values of being of the working class, rather than, for example, a lot of the media that comes from, let's say, the UK, the US, all of it's a lot of imperial centers. It's very focused on, let's say, let's take the American dream. You know, having your own property. You know, having your own insular unit, having lots of fancy cars. Might be about like rich kids or stuff like that. I think we will need to do a lot of work in building up the movement of like having revolutionary art, revolutionary literature, poetry. Just like it needs to permeate the culture. It needs to be everywhere, and so we can influence people and sort of hopefully start to guide people towards more egalitarian values. And I suppose to an extent, make it a shameful thing. Make it a shameful thing. Do you have a couple of apartments that you're renting out for an extortionate amount of money? While meanwhile there's people on the streets starving? Shame on you. How fucking dare you do that? Well, I think we need to be really very clear about those things. So I think that's probably one ingredient. That's probably one ingredient of it. Really giving a lot of money and supporting revolutionary art. Changing culture, I think, is super important, and we're noticing actually in dominant culture at the moment we are seeing a lot more revolutionary anti-capitalist art coming out. For example, Sorry to Bother You, for people who remember that movie a few years back. Incredible. Boots Riley, anti-capitalist artwork. Joker had a lot of, obviously, the kill the rich thing in Joker. Of course, everybody has their own criticisms of that, etc., etc. But we need to acknowledge that this is kind of a moment where we're seeing more and more of this counter-hegemonic art surfacing. If we can make that, if we can put that in the mainstream, make that normal, make kids
I was about
not
to
have
say,
these
like,
ideas when
in
they're growing up.
mainstream, because counter-revolutionary art has been there all along. It's just that we see
Oh
more
yeah,
of it in
yeah,
mainstream.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I should have been more clear.
No problem.
But like, we need to have a point where kids in school are saying, like, I want to grow up to be a social worker, not I want to grow up to be a fucking entrepreneur or whatever that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, how do we do that? How do we incentivize people to take on these very admirable roles? How do we incentivize someone to say, I want to work for the fucking public service, or to work in a library, to serve and help people and all of these kinds of things? Because everyone wants to be a fucking venture capitalist in a fucking Ferrari or something, like.
That's what they
we
sold us.
That's the bullshit that they sold us. So we need to change that.
We need to unlearn the brainwash first. First unlearn the brainwash, and then relearn
absolutely.
the new stuff, the new values, the good things.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I think it is that I think re-education is a good one. Would be a good term if we could take back, or even just find like a new way of phrasing that doesn't kind of have the scary. Like, it doesn't have like the scary
like dictatorship
connotations,
like dictatorship of the proletariat that was totally.
Yeah, we shouldn't be using the term dictatorship of the proletariat when normies. We just shouldn't use that.
I feel like a lot of times, however, that like especially in America, like there's been so much anti-communist propaganda and so much anti-union propaganda that we have such a surplus of that now that like people are afraid to even entertain the idea of communism and socialism. I mean, my own grandfather is afraid to talk about it. It's like a boogeyman word to him.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk about unions, like he literally tells me to shut up because it's like a taboo to him. He literally says, "Hey, when you bring that up, people are gonna be afraid of you because there are dark connotations to that." And I'm like,
well,
what's wrong with it? and I remind him, the point of socialism is the workers' ownership of the means of production. That's all it means. And
Yeah.
I remind him of that. And he still just says, well, no, there's dark connotations of that. And then I remind him, well, the only reason why you think that is because of Joseph McCarthy. So
Yeah.
and so he says, well, so what? Like, I'm afraid of it anyway.
So what? Shit.
Yeah. I mean,
So true.
if like it is kind of an issue, like if there was like a massive public campaign that was like okay, Javi, I see your cup there. You can't say the word cup because cup is associated with something bad. Cup means something bad. You just can't use that word anymore. You're not allowed to use it. And then 100 years from now, people are just like, oh, hey, isn't this a cup? No, don't say that word. That's a bad word. You know what I mean? That's associated with something really, really bad. And so I suppose there is another point. There is another argument where you probably there probably is a good argument for just calling things what they are, so yeah, so socialism is this. It's not this. It's this. So socialism is not um Sweden. It's not Norway.
Definitely not Norway. I'm telling you by experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely not. It is, as you said, worker control of the means of production, collective
Simple as
ownership of the
that.
means of production.
Yeah, we need a lot of explaining to do and a lot of deprogramming to do on
So
people. So they know, because
Yeah.
their condition is almost Pavlovian, as you said, like still
Yeah.
gives me the creeps, and it's like, why should it? You understand it, and it still gives you the creeps. It's like, okay, whatever. Can I do now with this?
Yeah.
I
I
would
think
say,
well,
I would say
I
also,
think
yeah. Sorry,
Oh, I wasn't gonna say anything.
you go.
I was
What's it
I
gonna-
was gonna say that we could engage into luxury shaming as well,
Luxury
Luxury
shaming, yeah.
like
Yeah.
like there's so much value added to brands. Like if you I used to work as a photo assistant forever years ago, and we did like some pictures for some of those magazines that feature luxury products in their pages. And you handle those luxury products, and they're just regular things, well done, well made, good craft. How much you say this was? 7,000 euros. What? This?
Fuck.
There's a disconnection there, and when you come to think about it, it's like all those shitty luxury products, that probably all the bourgeois, all the bosses of all the companies are taking hours of work worth of people's jobs. They're not paying to their employees that amount of money because they want to buy this or that luxury item. Who's the fucking
Yeah.
genius of evil who put a brand on something that is worth like $40 and make it worth $5,000 and say,
It's probably related to Edward Bernays.
right? And
Oh,
who's
fuck that with Renee.
and where's all that money going? How does it? This acts like one of the pieces of this? I envision it like a huge vacuum cleaner, cleaning up. All of sucking all of our wealth into a few spots that we don't even see. So I would say luxury shaming. That ain't worth shit, or something like that. Creating some kind of campaign to shame on luxury as something absurd, wasteful, and ridiculous would be a good starting point.
That's a really cool starting point, Javi. I also want to look at the sort of inverse of that, where, and I suppose more just a question then. How do we deal with like globalization and the really, really cheap products that are made in by kids in Sri Lanka or previously in China? And that should that be also kind of a shame thing as well, where you're buying shoes that were made like via slave labor in certain countries, like exploited people? And how do you think of that as well? Should that sort of fit into it, or should that be like a separate thing?
Yes, but in a way that it shouldn't be on us as consumers. It should be on the companies that make it happen.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, because it's just normal. Yeah, Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's ordinary, like, working class people just,
I mean, when the
trying to get
motherfucker
an
that
okay
owns
deal.
Tara, he goes like, oh, and he's making his clothes in Bangladesh for pennies on a dollar,
Yeah,
and
fuck
getting
that
still
guy.
a huge surplus from it, and people are buying it kind of relatively cheap in Spain, and outside of Spain it's considered like a luxury brand too, so fuck that twice. But you buy like a relatively inexpensive piece of clothing somewhere because you got no more money, or Primark, or call it whatever you want. It's not on the guy that has, it's not on the people who have like not enough money to buy more expensive clothes, or it's because of their salaries are gone, because all of that clothing has been outsourced to people who are being savagely exploited in countries on the other side of the world. So who's putting all that shit in motion? Is the companies, is the company owners, is the capitalists. So yes, but let's not put it on people. Let's put it on the exploitative system of capitalism, and how the main actors that are there, that are saying that the fucking geniuses who said, "Oh, let's go outsource the motherfuckers." I've worked in outsourcing when I was in Poland. I lived there. I had a. Wait a second. I'm gonna put a pin on that. I'm gonna deal with start over. Okay, where were we? Sorry about that. So I had like this shitty. Can you all hear me now?
The
Am I
outsourcing thing.
available? Yeah, I was in this outsourcing company
Yeah,
that was extremely shitty. So so they paid like two jobs, and I was on the other side of the outsourcing thing. So there were some people, in some other companies that had like very cheap service, and it was people in Poland and people in India, and we were all paid pennies compared to if we were doing this thing, the same support in Spain for Spanish people working there, or in the rest of Europe, because it was like a big room with a lot of people from all over Europe. So in a way, we were exploited so these people could get a cheaper IT service. Or I was working in a multinational corporation that paid like a little bit better because there were no clients involved. We were working for the company itself, so one intermediary was left out. And I had like a very nice wage for Polish standards, but still, for me, going out of the country to a place where there was like a more expensive currency going on, it would be problematic.
Wow.
So, yeah, planning on going to the United States, or planning to going on even home, to Europe, I had to count my pennies, because even when I had it well off in Poland, when I was visiting my family, I was like, I'd rather not spend a lot of money here, because everything I saw, everything was crazy expensive. It was not crazy expensive. It was the money that I got paid for, and that lower, let's
yeah.
say, the country that had a higher inflation, they had cheaper. Everything was much cheaper. And the other way around, when you go visit countries like, say, for instance, Poland, or Cambodia, Vietnam, and so on, it's very common to hear our comrades AJ and Luna talk about how cheap everything is in Vietnam, but it's because of the inflation.
I
And
see.
people manage to get a decent life there, but in Poland, people are depressed and alcoholic, and shit is fucked up because capitalism is unleashed there. So there's that. And then I moved to a very expensive country, to to Norway. And then the thing is, I couldn't find a job because jobs were only for Norwegians, and social security was only for people with jobs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Social fascism.
Yep. So there goes that quote unquote socialism, right?
Yeah. Socialism for whom?
Socialism is worker co-ops. Whatever other story people have told you, it's bullshit. It's communism with an L. it's a fairy tale.
But I think I do think I think we've had this conversation before. It needs to be like networks of co-ops. It can't just be like capitalist worker co-ops where you just have three capitalists owning a small shop and still, exploiting, I don't know, hiring extra people at the winter or something like that, because there are some English language schools in Dublin where they do that, and the teachers, these really good teachers, were like, you know what, fuck this, we're gonna open up our own language school. And they did, and it was like 5 of them, and it was great. But then it grew too big, and when they wanted to get someone else in because they had a lot more students, they needed to get more teachers in. When they did that, they had the problem that the person would need to buy in to the company to have like an equal share. So they ended up just hiring people, and they hire people on contracts, and it's the same damn thing. You just have more capitalists, So you need to get worker co-ops right, and it needs to be through connections and through collaborations and internationally as well, not just in like in one country. It needs to be like a large movement.
That's why we need a state. It sucks.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
all of my anarchist people out there are gonna say, but state is oppressive by definition, and it's like, yeah, but you can make a state to make those people not to abuse the rules of how to make a co-op and make it decent. How to have a set of rules for co-ops to work fairly towards workers, basically.
Yeah, and this is when they start making fun of us for saying that, like, oh, well, we're the people's police, that thing that they make fun of people who suggest using some kind of state intervention to
and
to
even
get these
more
things done.
like
But
we never transition to a leftist project from a vacuum. We come from a world that it is shaped the way it is shaped right now, so we need to take that into account and how to transition correctly so less people suffer. Because one of the principles of whatever leftist identification you have is that, one, there's more of everything for everyone, we just need to distribute it rationally so everybody gets something. And second, nobody is left behind. And that's super important. Whoever goes all LARPy with a system, whichever system, and goes like, people gotta suffer because there's no other option, that shit ain't leftist, motherfucker. People are not supposed to be left behind. And that's a key thing that people tend to ignore when going all LARPy, all like, I'm gonna make the best theory for the left ever. There is no one universal recipe, but there is one universal principle. It's leave nobody behind. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got like all important and shit.
no, it is really important. It was really, really nice. No one gets left behind. Absolutely not. And I just had one question there. Some random geek just asked, can't we use public and social shaming instead of a state? And I think that sometimes it's useful. I think that sometimes it's useful just to, I suppose, what do we mean when we say state?
I mean,
eventually, because we often just think of this bourgeois state.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if we get together, how many people get together before we call this a state? Like, if it is us, the workers, who comprise the state, then you know what I mean? Like, at what point, when does it become a state?
Totally not a dictatorship of the proletariat.
Definitely not, because that's a bad taboo term.
It's a good theory.
Can't say that.
Good theory,
Definitely can't say
bad
that on
wording.
Bread Hashtag cancelled.
It's difficult, but their definitions are also tricky. But there has to be some rule of law and some people managing the society from a set of principles that are good. Doesn't explain, like, in our shitty bourgeois states, there's like a bunch of old white dudes with a lot of privilege that come from rich families and have climbed the social ladder all the way, who are making the laws. So what shitty laws they're gonna make? They're gonna make shitty laws in which, if you can afford to pay for a good lawyer, you can get away with almost everything. And they show us every day. I mean, you people in the United States got like an orange little baby whiny thing that got away with a lot of shit, and is getting away with like a lot of shit doing nothing, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's yeah.
So what kind of state? I don't
It's
know. A
messy.
state, that has principles, about leftist principles in general.
Well, the
Mm.
state. Well, I mean, like the state is part of a hierarchical class system. However,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
in
however,
capitalism, definitely.
yeah, especially that's part of that goes against anarchism and that's and like I mean, and the state is inherently oppressive, from what I understand. I mean, like the state basically is like the thing that I understand about the state is that the state can at all times overrule any legitimate authority over its own people. So, like, if like, say, for example, the people vote in something, the state can just override anything.
yeah. Maybe what we're looking for here is not a state; it's a government.
Yeah, like something where people can just democratically vote in something, and then like that can be law. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, we want a government, not a state.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I get all those words mixed up all the time, and it's very true,
Yeah, I
Christopher.
don't. But I'm not really sure. How I'm not really sure I understand the difference then between those two. I know that we have a lot of
Well, you
but
can
look,
have,
and look,
have an
I read my. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you can have an anarchist government. Like
Mm,
you can govern through an anarchist way of thinking, but but like an anarchist state doesn't exist because a state is a social apparatus. You know?
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, so I think what we were going
Yeah.
for it was government, not state. It's I always
Yeah.
mix
Mm,
up those words. But a government that has
mm.
laws that are comprehensive, that are good for people, that those laws are not set in stone, and if they hurt somebody, people can vote to change them to accommodate the people who are being hurt and so on. It's yeah. I always it's my fault. It's totally my fault. I keep coming up with the word
Mm.
state, and what I mean to say is government. I make that mistake all the time. Every time you hear me say state, remind me
Mm.
no government, and I thank you for it
Yeah,
because it was my bad.
I never made that distinction when I was reading or thinking about these things. It is an interesting distinction. Maybe government's a little bit more sort of inclusive and potentially more democratic.
Well, yeah, we definitely need like a democratic means of governing for sure, definitely.
Yeah, beyond representative democracy, which is inherently bourgeois, that appoints like
Yeah.
well, I made a video about it recently, appointing like a few lucky people to say, "Ha, we're the representatives. You vote for either of us," and then it's like the same people with different colors because they're all privileged fucks who are totally
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
touch with real life. So it's like, what's the
Mm.
point? But yeah,
Yeah.
however, if you're in the UK, please, Labour is the lesser of all evils. So Labour is the way
I
to
love
go.
Labour.
I
I
do.
really like them.
It's
They seem nice. They seem smart.
so pick up your nose and go vote Labour. Ugh, you know, because it could get worse. You got to stop somewhere. But yeah, true change is affected in society, like from the grassroots, I guess. And that's what we keep forgetting when we get fantasizing about governments and whatnot, about the big politics, call it so. I think that the big changes are affected from the grassroots, and that's kind of important. What do you think?
I would be a little bit scared to say that it's always in the grassroots. You know, like if there's like people who are, really working hard, they're working like 18 hours a day and they've got like 8 hours to sleep, look after their kids, whatever the fuck that people need to do. It's really fucking difficult to be politically engaged in this world. Yeah, of course, we've all read The Conquest of Bread and we all know our utopian society that is totally directly democratic. But where we are right now, it's extremely, extremely difficult in every circumstance. I'm not saying that this won't work in some circumstances. It probably will work in some circumstances really well, but there's just so many people who are so exploited and so worn down that they don't really want to be sort of thinking about these things and to be focusing on these things. And you know, I just think about like within the current social economic system we have right now. I have a lot of days, basically every day, where I get home from work and doing a bunch of other things at about 9 o'clock at nighttime, and I'm just too fucking tired to do anything. Like if someone said to me, "Hey Paul, do you want to come to a committee now and vote on whether, I don't know, we should have this kind of sweet corn or this kind of sweet corn," or just random little things, I'd be just like, nah, fuck that. And I feel like at that moment, that's when the people who are really wealthy, the landlords and so on, while we still have them, they can just swoop in very easily and say, cool, I'm just making money and I've got all this free time and it's easy. It's very easy for me to keep controlling people. And now that we have this direct democratic system, we have the illusion that everybody can vote on every single little thing. But as we know, like in the US, there's so much, like in the US as well in particular, I'm thinking of like voter disenfranchisement and all of those sorts of things, that there are different ways they can still control us, so yeah, maybe like as the end result in our perfect anarchist society, then yes, we can do that when people are only working for 3-4 hours a day, whatever it might be. Everybody has time, everybody's educated, everybody, when I say educated, I mean they know what's going on politically at that moment. I don't mean they have like PhDs or whatever, fuck that. But you need to have that sort of, to use the fucking right-wing word, you need to have that true equality of opportunity that the right wing are always talking about, if we want that to work, because otherwise it just it doesn't seem fair. It's sort of, sometimes I feel like if you have that, if you brought in direct democracy right now, in a lot of situations it seems like it'd be 3 wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner.
Yeah.
Like, and so you just have these wolves who are just gonna totally manipulate the situation, and they're gonna say, "Cool, well, 75% of us democratically voted to eat the sheep," and yeah,
we're circling
it's fine.
back to what we said before about
You know what I
unlearning
mean?
all the toxic shit that we learned from capitalism, basically. Of
Yeah.
undoing all the bullshit.
I suppose that's where some of my issues come from. Like, when we take like let's say a dogmatic anarchist perspective, a dogmatic anarchist approach, where like we need to have these principles applied in every situation. That's where a lot of my doubts would come in.
Because anarchism
how are people going
is
to
not
manipulate
really.
it?
I don't see anarchism as really a political organization theory. More like a philosophical principle. It's the very extension of do no harm. Do no harm through hierarchies. Do no harm to other people. And the very root of that, and it's really interesting to go to the root of words. The Greek origin is that denial of power, no power, no hierarchy, no infliction of power upon others, and that's a great, amazing philosophy to follow, and a good ending point.
Definitely.
For a society where nobody harms other people. It's perfect. It's just perfect.
That's what we want. Totally.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
We need to go step by step in that direction, but we need to also be effective, not to lose anyone along the way, and then to really dismantle and deconstruct all the bullshit that we're living on right now, all the evil capitalism that we're living on right now. And we really need to unravel all that bullshit and take all of that baggage outside of our backs to be able to reach that point eventually, but not in one single magic stroke. It's not going to happen. We need to really get rid of all of that baggage beforehand. And I mean collectively.
There's a lot of work
personally. To do. So it's a shit ton of work.
There's so much work to do before I think we're at that perfect place where we all want to be.
Yeah.
And it can feel like sort of walking a tightrope, like, and how to get there. Like, it's very, very difficult getting that balance right and moving forward and making sure everybody's okay with it, and trying to bring in more of these anarchist principles, while making sure they're not subject to abuse. Not subject to. You know what I mean? Like, even if we talk about things like direct democracy, there's so many ways that could be abused by people. Like in a direct democratic system, people could just say, okay, great, I want to vote, and I'm putting a motion to the table where every Tuesday we can do the purge. We can just kill as many people as we want. We do whatever. There are some things that we probably shouldn't vote on. You know what I mean?
If in bourgeois democracies they presume, they always like to brag about how they have checks and balances. Direct democracies have more checks and balances. So those type of crazy things, they just wouldn't happen because of checks and balances and healthy debate between people, you know. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like if we do
You know what I mean?
direct democracy right now, people are gonna vote like a butter horse, if you know what I mean. Like we had like on the serfs. Like what name are we gonna put on leftist switch? And it gave several options, and people voted for butter horse because there's no consequences.
Yeah.
So fuck it. There need to be a process where people understand voting for things that affect your society require like a level of responsibility and a level of involvement and a level of debate that needs to be responsible. And we need to learn how to do that debate. And that has to be offline because online debate, you all know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that this really gets into like how are we going to deal with like the bourgeoisie and stuff like that in the future. I think that this unlearning and relearning is also part of that. You know, that cliche, that Spider-Man cliche, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, like we really need to teach people that and to help people understand, hey, what the fuck's going on in the world? You know.
Yeah.
Just had an idea.
I agree.
I just had an idea. So it goes like,
Oh, you did?
online debate is a dumpster fire. What are we gonna do with that shit? I honestly don't know, but something around those lines.
Yeah, but not the good kind of dumpster fire, because Dave's channel is amazing. So
by the way, yes. No, but that's dumpster flower though.
Oh, dumpster flower.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, no
sleepy
worries.
Sunday night.
And yeah, check out
All right,
dumpster
Dumpster
flower,
Flower.
amazing. Dumpster flower, amazing channel. Dave is awesome.
Yeah, and also great song, Happy.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah, it's like one of the most played songs in the jam sessions around the world because it's so simple and everybody knows it. La crêpe. We used to call it la crêpe instead of creep.
Did you folks want to move on to the other subject soon?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
we probably should. I'm gonna have to take off pretty soon, so yeah, let's jump in.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to talk about like anti-fascism and prejudice, because like I watched this movie about that took place in like after World War II. That kind of inspired me last night, and basically it was like it started off by this guy, like he reminded me of Mosley, but he was like an American, and he was like, all these N words, and the Freemasons, and we gotta fear them and stuff like that, and then like all these random people were like looking at him weird, and then like then it was like a dialogue between the Freemason and this European person. I forget which European. I think it was German. They were having a dialogue about Nazi Germany, and so basically, like it was just like talking about like what happened throughout, like how fascism rose, and so it was just really interesting to talk about that. So I just wanted to have a talk about fascism and like prejudice and stuff like that, because like it's just really interesting to learn about that, because we have so much prejudice today, and like today's America, and I just want to know, like, is there any prejudice in Europe today, because I know you live in Ireland and
Oh,
you
yeah.
live in Spain, so is there any prejudice over there right now?
Oh yes. Javi, maybe you know a little bit about this. One of the big groups that I'm thinking of, aside from like Syrian refugees and refugees and stuff like that, aside from that, one of the big groups that people don't really talk about is like the Roma people and Irish travelers. They get so much prejudice. In Ireland, we haven't really seen the rise of the far right in Ireland, and I've sort of suggested before that I think that that's related to the fact that nationalism in Ireland is generally of a pretty left wing character. Um, but there is this group of people, the Irish travelers, and they travel around Ireland and they have a different culture. They're recognized as a different ethnic group, and so they've got all these protected status benefits and stuff like that. Well, not benefits, I shouldn't say that, but they just get so much abuse in Ireland. And even if you go onto like Reddit, go onto like the Ireland Reddit, just daily you're gonna hear people just saying this really fucking racist shit about them. And it's a very strange kind of racism to witness, because a lot of people don't really recognize it as racism because they just think, oh well, they're also white people, so there's not, it can't be racism, because generally when we think of racism, we think of racism related to people of color, or maybe anti-Semitism, or things like that. Well, I don't know if anti-Semitism counts racism, but you get the idea. These prejudicial kind of ideas. And so yeah, they get bullied in school. They get the most difficult time. They walk into a shop, and so when I was working in Lidl, just like a supermarket, there was like a group of travelers who lived pretty close by. They had settled in our area, and they would come into the shop. And as soon as they came into the shop, these are kids now. These are like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids. They would walk in, and the security guard would walk over to me and say, "Keep an eye on them. They're up to something. They're up to no good." Does this sound familiar? Have we seen this before, like with different groups of people? And yeah, so they just get this discrimination, this abuse. And when we were voting for a president last time, the last presidential election we had in Ireland, about 70% voted for Michael D. Higgins, which is this kind of center left socialisty kind of guy, lovely guy, we all love him. But the vast majority of the rest of them, I think it was like 20 to 25%, voted for this guy. I think his name was Peter Casey, but his whole platform was, we need to talk about the problem with Irish travelers. Like this is like something we've seen before in the past. This is a huge issue that people are sort of dealing with this now. And yeah, so that's the big thing we have in Ireland right now. Yeah, that if people are maybe who aren't from like Ireland or from Europe or anything like that, if you're wondering about the Roma and like Irish travelers and that, there's a bunch of different words that people use to refer to them. One of them begins with G, but that's actually a slur, so I'm not going to use that word.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? So maybe have you experienced this anti-Roma sentiment as
Yeah.
well in Spain?
Oh, it's deeply
Yeah.
rooted. It's deeply rooted because we have
Yeah.
a lot of Romani people here. And
Yeah.
we actually, it's funny because in Spain, the Romani thing, it goes both ways. It's part of the folklore, ole ole, and so on. And all the flamenco comes from the Romani people. And everybody knows flamenco music, right? And everybody's super keen of it. And all the tourists come to a flamenco tablao, party, whatever. And it's really cool when it's more or less what happens in the US with the blacks. Like all the black music and the blues and the hip hop and the jazz, they came from black people. But then they're the most marginalized as well in our societies. So same with Romani people. They brought, they brought all the good stuff, and they all the traditional, not traditional, yeah, traditional, I guess, all the flamenco style of traditional music, which is a small part of Spanish traditional music, but an important one because it has like a lot of weight in it. And it's more or less the same. If you're a rich Romani entertainment people, you're good. You're in the money. You're famous. You get the fame and the good reputation. But they have these reputations, and they're like these common places. Like they always bring their cousins, and they always travel in huge amounts of people, and they take what they want and whatever, and they're everything, all of that is false. We have like activists and people here in Spain who are like from Romani descent, who are trying to reivindicate that sentiment of being of Romani heritage and being proud, and get the culture out and have people accept the Romani culture for what it is, which is awesome. So yeah, we have. But in Spain we have other kinds of racism right now, like people coming from south the border and being like one of the first points of entries to Fortress Europe. So there's a lot of anti-Maghrebi racism. There's a lot of anti-Latin American racism. It sucks big time. We're trying to deal with it and be as anti-racist and inclusive. I'm gonna try, when I get settled at some point, which is not anytime soon, but I'm gonna try to hook up with an organization called SOS Racism in Spain. SOS Racismo in Spanish, and get involved into that, because there's a lot of welcoming to do to all of those communities that are awesome and treated like shit by all these right-wing bullshit people who are trying to redirect the discourse into marginalizing them further. And it's like, fuck your marginalization. Stop othering people. Every mechanism that others people, you're gonna have us in front of you, motherfucker.
Right. That's good that you're considering that. That's really good. And Paul Morrin, are you are the Romani people like that impactful culturally over there as well?
Oh yeah, it's I believe it's a different group. They're at, the name of the group is Irish Travelers, and they actually. Yeah, they actually, there's a lot of those a lot of Irish travelers in the US as well. Actually, I'm not sure, maybe they're just considered like Irish whatever, because they are like they are Irish people. But yeah, culturally they're really important. They've
was it the people,
they got
the
their
people
music,
from
they
the
got
movie
their
the movie Snatch, that Brad Pitt played one of them?
Yeah. Yeah, he did, but I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't actually asked. I do know a couple of traveler rights activists, and I haven't actually asked them how they felt about their portrayal in that particular movie. I think it was a little bit derogatory, but
yeah, because
yeah,
they were hustling
I mean,
and
that's,
dealing in the criminal world and whatnot, so it could reinforce the
yeah.
stereotype.
That's kind of a negative stereotype that is perpetuated and disseminated in the media, that they are just, they just want to fight. And there's all these things. There's all these videos on YouTube where there's like feuding families and stuff like that. And like in Ireland, up until the, let's say, mid 1800s, it was very common for people to fight. You get into the pub, you drink, and you punch it out, you have a fight, and things are happy days after that. It's all grand, no problems. But they maintained this tradition. The Irish travelers really maintained that fighting Irish tradition. And there's a lot of videos online of basically these feuding families sort of calling each other out and saying, like, I'm going to fight you and you're going to fight me and we're going to do this. And yeah, but yeah, so like that's just kind of part of the culture. It's not really like I'm going to kill you. It's just we're going to have a fair, like, a fight, and that's it. Yeah, like a brawl, exactly. Yeah, we're gonna do that, and then once that's finished, that's it. That's the end of it. It's okay, Unfortunately, but that's been sort of disproportionately shown in the media, and people will share those videos all around, and they'll just say, "Hey, look at this, look at these people," and they'll just say this really derogatory, awful stuff about them, and look at them, they're less than human because they just want to fight. And so you have these, there's a lot of these people, a lot of these right-wing people who are very much saying like, no, we're not them. They're just violent, and they just want to do this and that. And there's a lot of really nasty stuff that comes out under the sort of pretense of civility politics. Like we're so civil and we're so perfect. Meanwhile, fucking Conor McGregor is out there just like punching elderly men for not taking a swig of his drink. Do you know what I mean? So like, fuck that guy. Fuck Conor McGregor for giving us Irish people such a fucking bad name. He's the fucking monster if you want one. Yeah, leave the Irish travelers alone. They're okay. They're doing their thing,
That it's that Facebook drama that goes around. You know,
Mm,
people share that kind of drama on Facebook, and that's why I don't go on
yeah,
Facebook anymore. Fuck that
yeah.
shit.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay away
Stealing all
from
your data.
Facebook. I still have like some pages and stuff, and I post updates in them. There's the left tube posting.
Oh yeah, that's YouTuber
There's a few
posting. Yeah,
groups
yeah.
that are interesting, but generally Facebook it's a nest of lies and bullshit. So
Yeah, it really is.
it's gonna die soon,
Not
hopefully.
not to quote Donald Trump, but it really is fake news. Like it so is fake news. Like Facebook is it's such a it literally is like a place where you want to get fake news.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So anyway, um
Yeah.
yeah um yeah
And,
I what's up?
and yeah, so we've talked a little bit about the big prejudices that we see in Ireland and in Spain. What are the big prejudices that you see at the moment? Is it sort of the stuff that immediately springs to mind for me anyway from what I've seen is very much anti-black. It's very much racist against sort of African American young men in particular. The police brutality, is that the big is would that be the big one, or would you notice other kinds of prejudices and other kinds of
Well, I mean, yes, that's a big one. That's around. I mean, not necessarily that I personally see, but I mean that's one that's very big in America. However, um, one that I personally see is one that's seen towards Latinos and Latinx and Hispanic folks. Um, uh, and I also see a lot of discrimination towards indigenous folks. Um, I like because a lot of times indigenous folks, like indigenous folks, like they get I remember seeing like my friend Joey, they like he's just like he's indigenous, right? And he he was just outside of a Taco Bell, and he saw this he saw this car, like this truck, and it said something to the effect of red is extermination, like red pest extermination, and it had a picture of this red like effigy of of like a of a Native American on it. So it was yeah, it was like purely racist.
Yeah.
Um, and like basically
very
like
much so?
yeah. So on like other examples are I mean there's all kinds of examples like that here in America. Like racism is still very alive today. Towards like Native Americans and Latinx people, like that. Um, I like all the time. Like I see people like being very disrespectful to them. Um, it's like it's still like that here today.
Can we pin this on the media? Like
Sad.
the rise of fascism, like making being a hateful piece of shit, making it cool. Can we pin this on the media?
I think so to some extent. I think it's also probably to an extent like the fact that like Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and the fact that like we have like concentration camps here as well.
Yeah.
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 Um
And like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fucked up.
I think it's also the fact that like people are thinking that like like certain types of people are not legal here. Like you're not legal to be here. Like there are certain people that are not legal to be here. Like if you look a certain way, you are not a legal citizen, and that's very damaging to a person's image, right? Because like it's very damaging to any person's image to like if someone speaks Spanish, like and they're brown, like they can like like they can be suspected of being illegal. Like that's a very common thing to be here. Like the thing about Proud Boys is that like Proud Boys will immediately call the police or like call ICE agents on people just for speaking Spanish and being brown here.
That's
That's a
so
big
messed
problem
up.
they have here.
Yeah, that's really fucked up. I can't even get my head around that. I have heard in Ireland, we have a lot of Latin Americans in Ireland, and they are often told, my wife's Brazilian, and so the things that she tells me, it's like people will be speaking Portuguese and just on the bus or whatever like that and speak English. And it's like the irony of someone in Ireland telling others, speak English. It's like, what the fuck? Why are we speaking English?
Right,
We should be all speaking a very different language in here. You know what I mean?
right.
So that's like, but that's starting here. I don't think that in Ireland there's the same level of urgency about that because in the US, I think you have like ICE is very strong. ICE are knocking in people's doors and putting people in these cages, these concentration camps, and it's the stuff of some sort of dystopia, this dystopian totalitarian nightmare. I don't, I that seems to be much less pronounced here in Ireland. I'm not sure. Maybe in Spain, and is there anything like that? Where if someone is found to be illegal, they just get the police come and take them away and put them,
Nah,
segregate them
that's
and
not
turn
so
them.
common here in Spain. Racist motherfucker in Spain would shout at the person.
Yeah, yeah, same kind of thing
They'll
over
be
here.
shouted at, but nobody's gonna call like the ICE is like the Trump Gestapo more or less. It's been used for racist purpose, and they should know. Somebody I don't know. Somebody should add two and two and put connect the dots and say this is an instrumentalization of a publicly funded body of police or branch of the state saying this is used for racist purposes. This must stop. I guess somebody has called that out already. Like it's so obvious from here, but I don't know from the United States how you see it.
Yeah. It's very unjustified whatsoever. Like, um, it's something that I've been concerned about for a long time, and the Proud Boys are they have to be stopped. It's something that some of my comrades have been trying to fight for quite a while now.
Yeah,
It's
do you
great.
have like a name of who's in charge of this ICE police and what's the like the leading structure, the leadership structure for that? That should be public information, right?
I'm sorry.
The whoever is in charge of ICE, who are like the top bosses and the top commanders and the people who are actually making the policies or the way that branch of the police is working. They should be public, right? Those people should be out.
I
They
don't
should be
I don't
public
personally know, to
information.
be honest with you.
Mm.
I don't personally know. The only person I'm aware of is David Clark, who was, but I don't think he's in charge of ICE.
Mm-hmm. Well, that
Yeah,
should be something worth being looked at, like in a way, openly putting these people in the open and saying these public officials are directing this body of police to do these openly racist and xenophobic maneuvers. It's because cops. All cats are beautiful. All cats are beautiful, but they do what they are told. So it's important, I guess, to go to the command, whoever is giving the order to behave like they're behaving, for them to create this terror, which is state terrorism, basically what they're doing in with ICE in the United States, and
right.
that should be addressed and sent to whoever human rights as I don't know, organizations whatsoever. I'm not really keen on those things. But, go to the head and say, these people are making ice this so shitty. And these should be pointed out publicly. This guy, and this guy, and this guy, they're doing these things. And they should be looked at. I don't know. It's an idea.
Right. Okay. I'll probably look into that sometime. Maybe I'll make a video about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, between awesome VHS treasures that you're digging out there. Oh my god!
Oh, they're so nice.
Oh my god! That's so good.
Please do this.
Damn, where do you get those from, by the way?
Yeah. I have a mystery treasure chest.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I look all over the place for those places, for those mystery treasure chests.
That's awesome. The culture of VHS that you have in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, for example, some of them are just random. Like, for example, the next one I'm going to do is a Warner Brothers film. So.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, worth looking at the ice thing, ice situation, and how there's kind of like is it bad in the U.S. the stigma over Antifa, that the secret super soldiers of Antifa?
Oh yes, the anti-fascism it has a really negative stigma here.
What the fuck? It's like, McCarthyism 2.0.
Well, yeah, like let me put it this way: like the Proud Boys, like had a rally in Portland like in late August, and basically like Antifa like showed up there too, and basically Donald Trump like said, we have our eyes on Antifa, we're going to consider making Antifa a terrorist organization. And basically the Proud Boys said that we basically considered that a victory. Yeah, so basically, like that's basically like saying that we're I don't know. Basically, we're kind of losing in that sense, you know.
Shit. We need to maybe campaign a little bit for a positive way of portraying Antifa as anti-fascist soldiers.
Well, I made a whole video. I made a whole video about that, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I made a whole video saying, are anti-fascists really terrorists?
I love that tweet that says support the troops and shows like the Antifa flag.
Amazing. Perfect.
It's people, and good luck arresting the head of Antifa. Fuckers.
I'm the head of Antifa.
Me too. I have a head and I'm Antifa. So I gotta be the head of Antifa. It's so ridiculous. Being anti-fascist is an act of decency, of
absolutely
human decency. Opposing fascism violently is the most and probably the only effective way to defeat fascism. You do not debate fascism. Use mass
in a video game.
In a video game. You oppose them because
for legal reasons.
Those stunts of them that they do to show strength, it's catering to get more people, to show a strong person that's gonna get them out of the crisis situation through hate and the lowest instincts. So what you need to show is that those motherfuckers are just a bunch of clowns, and they can be opposed by regular folk like you and me.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Totally.
So that's the word that we need to get out on social networks and everything else. Just, anti-fascism is an act of decency, and fascists need to be stopped because you don't debate fascists. Alas, I wish we could. I really wish we could.
More importantly, however, like if anti-fascism starts to become illegal by any means necessary, then protesting at all, even peacefully, will become illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then basically the fascists will win, like period, and basically fascists will be able to will be able to reign supreme.
Yeah, that's fascism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
So
forbid protest, that's a totalitarian state.
yeah.
You know, they like to say the words freedom and democracy and liberty, and fuck them. Fuck them. They're lying through their teeth. They're appropriating words that are not theirs. Freedom is not being forbidden to protest, and liberty is not being forbidden to protest, and democracy is not having an orange Hitler piece of shit trying to put anti-fascist citizens, people like you and me and everyone else, who are trying to oppose fascist groups, who are trying to terrorize the public sphere of your country, and saying that people who oppose them are gonna be the criminals. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
Right.
That's
Right.
fascism. That ain't democracy. That the demos doesn't have the kratos. The people don't have the power.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. There goes my rant.
It was a good
Narrative
rant.
people.
Old
Really good
man, old
rants.
man yells on stream.
Gang, I'm gonna need to take off now. Christopher Szabo, thank you so much for coming on. You're one of my favorite people in the world, and it's been just so awesome to talk to you. You're such a pleasant person, really. It was
Yes.
just awesome to have you on here.
Thank
And
you so much.
Javi,
It was nice talking to you too.
great.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Javi, you're amazing as always. Thank you so much for hosting this.
Mwah.
Are the two of you going to stick around and keep chatting, having a little bit of fun, or
Yeah, sure. What's
what
your
do you
schedule,
think?
Chris?
Well, I want to at least shout someone out. At least one. At least shout someone out before I leave.
Let's do like 10 more minutes. Let's do more 10 to 20 more minutes of chat just because we can afford it.
Sounds good.
Okay, Paul.
Great.
Have a fantastic
Okay.
evening. Mwah.
Take care, Paul.
Mwah. Love you all. Take
We
care,
love
gang.
you, Paul.
Bye.
You rock.
See you. You rock.
You rock. Okay, so I want to shout someone out that I've been talking to recently, because he is a really cool person that you should have on your Sunday Socialist stream sometime soon. His name is Small as Bedoodle, and he basically was if you've been watching my YouTube channel, like he's basically the sex worker that I interviewed on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Have you watched the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. We also did another video that was a little bit spicier about queer theory and not queer theory. No, it was gender expression and identity.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been basically like talking about like different subjects and things like that, and I think he would be a really good person to get in contact with, and like you should definitely like have
Yeah.
like
Let's be in
Camera.
touch. We get more of the meows and the giggles.
yes,
That
absolutely,
was fantastic.
yeah.
So cool. Yeah. Now that we're plugging things, I don't know. I don't know if you've been aware of the YouTube walkout that I'm trying to organize here.
Yeah, I think I saw it on your Twitter.
Yeah, I'm trying to promote it the best I can, which is me repeating myself like a broken record, basically.
Okay, so what is it? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's we're trying to do like 3 or 4 days without YouTube. Actually counts like 4 days because I said like 10th to the 13th, but that includes both days, so it's 4 in total. It's not.
Is it because of the COPPA thing?
It's because of a series of things. It was like the new terms of service was like the last straw. Like they can nuke us whenever they want, however they want. And that gives me the clue that they're gonna nuke us quietly, one by one, slowly. All of the leftist content creators,
Yes.
they want, because there's this vague term called commercially viable. And
Yes.
Corviday made a beautiful video with a song saying, "Am I commercially viable for you, YouTube?" And I think trans non-binary people and the sorts are going to be especially vulnerable to this, because advertisers, they don't want shit to do with the trans community and the non-binary community. So we're heavily endangered by this change of policy. But that was like the last straw, because we've been seeing like a Free the Plebe campaign when they nuked Theory Plebe's channel because they were supposedly spamming when they were practicing this thing that is called copy pasta agitprop, which is not the same as spamming. And they didn't even because if you get like a little spammy, you can get like a warning. You know, you did this, don't do this again. And okay, chef, whatever, it's your boat. But no warning, no appeal whatsoever. They just nuke the shit out of them, and they're gone. They're gone. I mean, they made a second channel called Copy Pasta Agitprop. Check it out on YouTube.
Right.
But basically, they're moving to Twitch. Yeah, they're moving to Twitch basically, which is what we're all gonna do eventually. And it kind of sucks for me because I'm not very good with new tech. Hopefully, I'm gonna get a hand from a comrade who offered on Twitter. But it's basically Twitch is more for streaming than uploading, and I like to produce little things. But we'll move to other platforms eventually. But we'll try and stay in YouTube for as long as we can, because a lot of people actually reach YouTube. So let's use it. But the idea is to go on the walkout, because all of these things plus the children thing, the COPPA thing, it's like is your content for children or not? And then you mark it. No, it's not for children. But if the algorithm decides that you have like a cartoon profile picture, or like AJ does the thing with puppets and whatever, they go like, oh no, but this is for children. But I'm saying it's not. Oh, I don't care. You're nuked. So yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things. Those were like the last straw of the argument. It was difficult. We're writing like a script and probably gonna do a call-up video if you wanna. You're so invited to everything. Christopher Szabo,
I'm down.
You're so invited to everything in general. So
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, come on. And yeah, I mean, come on. Come on. So we're gonna do like these 4 days of not viewing or not uploading anything to YouTube. And Folding Ideas did a great video about YouTube with COPPA. Sorry?
When is it gonna be?
10th of December to the 13th of December, both days included. We have like a special extra date for like if your channel is doing comprehensive coverage about the UK elections, you can skip the strike and do it from the 13th to the 16th. And if you're like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna do both, you can do from the 13th. I mean, from the 10th to the 16th all the way. You skip like a whole week of YouTube if you can afford it. It's all voluntary. It's not, it's not an imposition or anything. I would say, if you're not doing like British coverage and you show up, it's a bit of a scabby move. But I'm not gonna go scab because the stakes are not that high anyway. But it's not so difficult anyway. Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be on Twitch or Twitter or doing anything else? Go out, read a book, see the sunshine if you can. And if you're mobilized with your computer because you have like your own health issues, damn, let's hang out on Twitch. I'm gonna probably be streaming a lot these days. So that's
I made a video that I'm going to be releasing on Monday.
Cool.
For that's going to be talking about this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want, you can send me like a graphic on Discord, and then I can edit the video, and then like I can re-upload the video and schedule it for tomorrow, and then like I can have it so that way like I can talk about this strike that we're gonna have. You know, if you want me to, or I can make a separate video talking about it. It's up to you.
Whatever is less effort for you, to be honest, because I
It's
don't
up.
want to.
No, I don't mind either way. It's up to if you, either way. Just send me the graphic.
Okay,
'Cause- yeah.
I'll send you. There's like a WeTransfer link right now that people can use. I'm gonna link it to the chat. I'm gonna send it to you also later. Gonna copy the thing. Oh shit.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, it did disappear. But okay, I'll get it to you later. And there's this package that contains like the video, the graphics, and everything. I changed my profile picture and the cover of Twitter to those YouTube walkout thing, and enough is enough and everything. There's an online petition that Curiosity did the text beautifully, that is also out there for people to sign, and it's a ton of stuff going on. I got like a shitload of backlash. Like, I didn't know that it would be so hard for some people to stay out of YouTube for a few days, but apparently it is a big sacrifice. And
It is a big sacrifice. We're all codependent on YouTube.
yeah, yeah. But isn't that kind of the trick? Well, it's one of the things that I wanted to analyze in that way. Like, it's like the Uber economy, or the when you're like one of those Uber drivers, you're supposed to do like a lot of runs in a day to get some profit out of it, and it's kind of like the app stimulates you to do like to work a lot of overtime to make like some kind of money, because your margin is so low, and you're encouraged to do a lot of hours there. And I think the
Yeah.
YouTube is doing kind of the same thing. It's kind of video gaming us into slaving for them, basically, and they don't care because we're so dependent on them that
Right.
like I don't I at this point, you know, and if we're gonna get nuked anyway, it's not that big a sacrifice considering what's gonna go down in here. So
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's my idea. I don't know. In you know, I'm encouraging people to do the campaign and do their own interpretation of it, because it's not supposed to be like my idea. I did this and I put the rules, and I mean the basics. You know, not uploading or not doing visits from the 10th to the 13th. And then, you know, you do you. If you have like another initiative that anything to add, go for it. We will support you. You know, I know some people that will go down with anything that's related to help for this. You know, I got like a lot of criticism that was not helping. Not is the typical. This is not gonna work. YouTube is too big, and we're nothing but a teeny tiny spot. And it's like, yeah, fuck that shit. But we can be organized. You know.
Well, I encourage everyone to like leave a comment to the FTC as soon as possible. Like, because like, you know, I think they have a website where you can leave a comment to the FTC. Like, if they have a window open,
Yeah.
that's like right now. I don't have a link readily handy, but like if you can find it, like they have one that's available.
Yeah. 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 Go
Yeah,
for it. Go check it
yeah.
out, and you know.
Yeah. Anyway,
But I can
it's
see
at,
like there's a comment by Snapple and Cats that says that that being a chronically ill person, it's being out of YouTube, it's a bit of a sacrifice, especially because a lot of the time I can't leave my house to do much, and for that we support you. And we're not never gonna put any pressure on people who have like conditions. You know, that's understandable. This being
yeah.
said, we're gonna be a lot on Twitch, so switching platforms not a bad idea, and we'll try to keep you entertained and engaged, and you know, and either way, we have your back. That's I don't want to be
Yeah.
an idiot, you know, with this, and the stakes are not so big, so yeah.
Yeah.
Can the walkout be better timed than just before the UK election? Yeah, Geshting, I told you it's the importance of it being the 10th. It's because it's when the new terms of service are active. So if they see a little glitch on their sensors, if they see like a there's a little, it goes a little bit down, you know, which was what I was hoping for before I got all this pushback from people. But if there's if they see a mark on the same day that their stupid TOS happens to be in effect, maybe that makes them think or not. That's the symbolic charge of it. But of course, being so close to the UK elections, because I didn't predict this shit, is like, yeah, that's why we put like those 2 dates. So if you're doing UK election related content, you can upload and tell people to watch and whatnot. But if it's not related to the UK election, what's the point? It doesn't change anything. And I understand that it's gonna dilute things in it, but you know, I learned that the UK election was at that point later on when the thing was already happening, and it kind of ran over me, and I couldn't just cancel everything. I put like a ton of work. When you see that link, I'm gonna send you the WeTransfer link. It's got like a video on it. I did like a text to speech thing online, and I put the thing, and I put some general strike images from and did all the artwork and all the stuff. So I had everything worked out, the package done, everything uploaded, and then somebody tells me, "Hey, but the election is like, oh shit." You know, I'm not a smart person. I'm not the smartest tool in the box either. So at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying.
It's all right.
Yeah. So I understand.
You don't have to put yourself down.
Yeah, don't worry. And yeah, I don't know. That's what I kind of wanted to bring it into the conversation. What are your thoughts, Chris, about all this thing?
Well, I think I'm really worried about everything that's happening right now. About everything that's happening. In regard to the FTC and about COPPA and the about the about like the yeah, just mainly FTC and COPPA right now. Like, and I'm worried that a storm is coming right now when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And not yeah, it just seems like that.
Yeah, it feels like it's like a
Not
bad
being
South
commercially
Park
viable,
episode.
not being commercially viable and whatnot.
Yeah. Shit, I would encourage you all to see the Corviday video. It's spelled Korviday. They sing like this. Am I commercially viable enough for you? The sentiment, the feeling, they catch it like perfectly. And it feels like the COPPA thing, it feels like a bad South Park episode where Kyle's mother tries to do something for the children and the thing goes like off the rails because nobody understand. You know, it sucks. It sucks because South Park is a shitty show, centrist.
That's a shitty analogy.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. But it reminds me of those things, you know, like somebody has a good intention and then shitty lawmakers make it into a blanket, like a blunt hammer to push back all kinds of other stuff that are not intended, you know. And I understand the nobility of trying to protect children, mostly, to be honest, from advertising. Like, they shouldn't target advertisement to children, and that's what YouTube doesn't want to lose, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They don't wanna stop data mining from children. I think I heard some random geek mention it in a stream recently. Like they want to still data mine children, and that's why the COPPA thing is gonna affect YouTube in that very specific way, in which the algorithm is gonna search for children-related content, even when you don't label your videos as children, as for children. Which they could make like a separate platform saying YouTube for children directly, and you could keep YouTube as is and make a separate one for children and people who are interested. And then even not advertising, you know, because advertisements damage children more than whatever video we can make. I mean, to be honest, I was raised in the 80s, and we saw gore movies with a shit ton of blood and whatnot on TV all the time.
Oh yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, same here.
You saw some
Not,
fucked up
I mean,
stuff.
I saw a lot of. I mean, I was born in the '90s, but I saw a lot of gore movies in the '80s too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I know what you mean.
we're all right. I mean,
Yeah,
some other
I don't know about
circumstances have screwed us, but it's the other stuff, not the movies. The movies, we have a fun memory of those.
oh yeah, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we saw some good stuff when we were young, and we didn't get hurt by it. We got hurt by capitalism, though, and I don't see
yeah.
anybody legislating about capitalism yet. Just
Yeah.
saying.
just don't legislate the horror movies. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't need legislating horror movies.
yeah. It's like they tried it with video games, violent video games.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Okay, fuck the PMRC. Fuck the PMRC.
yeah. And it's like clueless, out of touch politicians ruling for people who they don't know shit about. So there's that.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to talk about? I don't know, right out of the blue. I want to
I
pick your
don't
brains.
so.
Okay,
pick my
fair
brain.
enough.
I mean, like, you want, I mean, like, other than maybe like, my show that I have, other than that, like, other than that, because like that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're gonna
Okay.
wrap it up for today. Thank you all, the good people in the chat. Don't watch too many ads. We're not impervious to advertising, so. And if you can, and to the measure that you can, please join the YouTube walkout and show support. If you have ideas, you know where to contact us, and have a good one. Mwah.
Watch the Christopher Szabo show on my YouTube channel, everyone.
Oh yeah, the Christopher Szabo show, where they play like the craziest VHS tapes ever.
Yes, watch that on my YouTube channel.
For fun and games and anarchism.